So, John.
Yes, sir.
You're this. You mentioned you told us a story about being at this party with Nancy Pelosi.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering. You're here. You're speaking out. You seem rather fearless on these issues. But are there ramifications to being in mainstream U.S. entertainment and challenging the establishment, smack talking them?
As we say in the country, does a bear shit in the woods, right? That's a big West Virginia saying as well.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, what happened with me is I was becoming that guy that would yell at the TV, but then I would go out at the industry events, a red carpet, an interview, whatever, and understand that the majority of people running our industry were absolutely hated people that thought like I think. And so I would just shut my mouth, bite your tongue, don't say it in here, and just go back home and yell at the TV again. And at some point, I felt like I was sacrificing my integrity, sacrificing my freedom of speech. Why do we have these things? Because hundreds of thousands of Americans have died and bled and sacrificed and did whatever it took to keep those freedoms alive. That's why the lines are coming into the country and there's no lines going out, because we have those freedoms. And I'm going to sit here and not say what's on my mind and speak what I know to be true, because I'm afraid somebody's not going to give me an award, or somebody's not going to play my song at the radio station or whatever. Yeah, that's the penalty. But which one is bigger? The founding fathers are walking out there going, hey, give me liberty or give me death. That was not a bumper sticker. That was not a hashtag. That's what it took to get this country up and running. And if they ever found those guys that signed the Declaration of Independence, they ever found them, they were going to hang them from a tree, burn their houses, kill their families, and erase them from the memory of the earth. But now we're worried about somebody throwing us off of Twitter, or somebody calling us a bad name, or in my case, the music industry not giving me everything that I want to get out of it. At some point, make a call. Decide what's actually important to you. Is your freedom of speech more valuable to you than the approval of the music industry? That's where I got to.
Good times.
Got two little boys growing up, and they're watching me. And what if I'm dealing with this? What are they going to be looking at in about 15 or 20 years? So I'm the only example they have. Well, what did Pop do when he ran into that, when the government did this, or tech did that, or businesses did this? What did Dad do? Yeah. Did he just yell at the TV and then go play ball? Or did he actually say what he felt? And was he the same guy all the time, 24/7? Did he take his hits? Hell yeah. And he got scars and lost money and lost popularity with a lot of people. But what did he gain? Self-respect, integrity, and he sleeps okay at night. Not like Dad.
Good for you.
That's why I do it like that.
So here's my question, though. Tremendous respect for all of that. Do you fear, they'll try to come after your kids, or you might put your kids at harm?
They better fear ever coming after my kids.
I love it.
Because I'll let you.
Very good answer.
I'll let you come after me all you want to. You leave my family alone. We will die for our families. We'll die. If you said, John, you were them, snap your fingers and take me out of here. I mean, right now. As my daddy would say, who's a quasi-Pentecostal style prison preacher, that I would charge hell wearing my gasoline suit with my water pistol blazing if you ever jack with my family. Yeah. And that's what they don't understand in this country, these liberals and people running our country, that there is a fierce love and dedication and responsibility that we have as parents, that you step over that line and you start messing with my kids, there is no boundaries anymore between us. You want full contact sport? You want to raise the stakes on what you're doing to our kids and how you're, in my opinion, assaulting them in all these ways? You're going to assault my kids? Why don't you try to assault me one time? I'm going to step in front of these little kids. Now you're going to deal with a grown-ass man and a grown-ass woman who got nothing to lose and don't care what you have to think about it. This is where America's going. And whatever look I have in my eye right now, because I know what I'm saying, I'm feeling it down in my guts. That is what tens of millions, if not more, Americans are feeling right now, regardless of their politics, regardless of who they voted for or what they think about Trump or Biden. You mess with our kids, you got a world of hurt coming your way this fall.
They're messing with kids.
Good for you, man.
You've got these teachers now bragging on social media about how they want to talk about their sex lives with children. And it's the weirdest thing to me that they're trying to normalize the idea that 5, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds are talking to their teachers about their teachers' marriages or relationships. That never happened for me when I was in those grades, because Florida is where the big conversation started, the Parental Rights and Education Bill. When I was 5, I remember the names of all my teachers. Actually, I don't remember the name of my second grade teacher. I'm sure someone in my family does. But I remember these teachers. I had no idea who they were married to. I had no idea what they were doing. I was 5. I was 8. I was 9. When I was 12 or 13, I learned about my teacher got married. That's all I learned. She was out one day. A substitute came in. Why? Oh, she got married. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't come into the classroom and say, I want to tell you all about my relationship with my husband and our honeymoon. Never happened. Yet now this is what they're saying. Oh, but it's totally normal. Like, I need to explain to these kids, like, what it means. Well, you don't. I mean, first of all, the parents can. And this can be handled during normal sex ed if the parents think that's what the school should be doing. But they're actually arguing for the right to have conversations with your kids about sexual issues in secret. Telling those kids, don't tell your parents. So this is happening.
Are you homeschooling?
No.
Do you want
my
to?
Kid, no, because I found a school that won't put up with it. And so that's where my kids go. But let's just take that conversation out of the classroom, shall we? Let's go to a public park and your kids are playing over by the monkey bars and a couple of adults walk up and start showing them those books with those pictures and having that conversation with them. What would happen to those adults in that public park?
They would be arrested by the cops.
They would be arrested and hauled off to jail. So if you look under the American Bar Association, when it goes into the word grooming, which is the big word right now, which is accurate in my opinion, it says, and Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals actually has this perfect. Please go look it up. That it is not a defense to say that you are putting explicit, pornographic, or obscene material in front of a child under the guise of education. It has already been stated. It has already been solidified. You do not get to hide behind the veil of education, and that shields you from something that outside the school would be considered a felony.
Mm-hmm. Well,
this doesn't work that way. So this game they're playing, the only way you short circuit that is at some point, parents are going to have enough of it, and they're going to go, you know what? Did you show this to my kid? All right, turn around, put your hands behind your back.
Let's take it to the workplace. I think it was Robbie Starbuck who tweeted this. If you talked to another coworker about what these teachers are talking about, you would be sued for sexual harassment.
Yep. That's absolutely
Hands
right.
Down.
Right.
I mean, because these books, some of them have shown relatively graphic images. They're like descriptive, instructional.
Pictorials.
Yeah. If you went to the workplace and take a look at this book, they'd be like, okay, I'm going to the boss. The boss is going to be like, I'm letting you go. Mm-hmm. Why are you showing these images? But in the school to children, they're arguing it's okay.
Under the guise of education. What I'm telling you is that's already been established. There's people who have already tried to use that defense in the highest courts in our land, and they were not upheld.
Well, people need to go after these teachers and file suits, file charges, whatever they have to do.
Absolutely. On top of that, another thing that people are failing to acknowledge here is that one of the core elements of grooming is trying to separate the child from their parents. So by definition, having secret conversations with children, especially secret conversations about sexuality, is grooming. And I think everything you just said a moment ago was put very beautifully. And so many people in this country feel that way. And I think the left is going to start to realize that they've really woken a sleeping giant, because they're completely incapable of understanding other perspectives. All they know and understand is obedience to the party line and loyalty to their sick set of principles and what their ideological allies tell them to believe. I think many of them don't have close familial relationships, which is part of why statistically they actually are more likely to experience mental health issues. And so they can't comprehend the bonds that exist between good and healthy families. They have no idea what's coming their way if they continue to push on this.
Well, I think if you go back in time, we were talking about several hundred years ago where the dad's armed. Maybe he's got his single shot, flintlock or something like that, or a sword or a knife or something, because you never know. You got to defend yourself, your friends, your family. People without families were much less likely to survive. Mm-hmm. That's just, humans are social beings. Our families and our tribes are how we survived, and that's why we have such a strong social desire to be a part of the culture and the tribe, because if you weren't, you didn't survive. We now have an expanding society of familyless individuals. They have some friends, they hang out, they're in their 30s, they're not in relationships, they're single, they live in apartments. I gotta say, I don't think these people would survive the actual wilderness. They're a product of the good times we've created, and the security and the safety that allows this ultra individualist, I guess, lifestyle.
Probably also a bunch of drug addicts on Adderall, Prozac, who knows, legalized pharmaceuticals, so they're like distorted and aren't able to understand love with their mother. It comes from like, well, I didn't get along with her to begin with, and like, come on, guys. I'm just assuming a type of person, but there's a lot of legalized drugs out there that people are on.
Well, I mean, also statistically, we know that children that come from two-parent homes fare better than children who don't. They have absolutely destroyed and gutted the family. It's been a very long-standing project on the left because they can't have competing power structures, and they know that good, tightly knit families that genuinely love and care for each other and have a strong sense of loyalty, and parents who will legitimately protect their children, solve the problems that the state claims it needs to be in a position to solve. Though it never solves them well, it usually ends up creating more problems than it's addressing. But the point is, they're not going to stop, right? Like, they see your connection to your family as a threat. Like, it is a threat to their way of life, and what they view is what's necessary for their survival. They're not going to stop. Like, we have to stop them is the point. They're not going to stop themselves.
Let me give you guys a white pill. I don't know. That's the optimism, right? The
For sure.
The one that means things are not so bad. Black pill is
Gandalf the White.
All right, let me tell you guys about what I think is coming. I think the future is going to be more conservative than this country's been in maybe like 70 or 80 years, for one simple reason. It has nothing to do with people waking up to politics. It has nothing to do with young people being based. It has everything to do with the fact that the left does not have children. And if they do get pregnant, they are substantially more likely to abort their children.
Kill their baby, yeah.
So back in the early 2000s, conservatives were having about 2 kids for every 2 parents, so they were it was stable. Liberals were having 1.7 kids, so typically a family would have 1 kid, maybe 2. Now we see it in the polls that Gen Z is a tad bit more conservative than millennials, but millennials and Gen Z are still relatively progressive compared to Gen Xers and Boomers. What happens in 20 years from today? The birth rates collapsed, but conservatives still have a lot of kids. Maybe less on average than they did before, but way more than liberals. If the left can't indoctrinate children in schools, they cease to exist within maybe 40 years.
Exactly. It's necessary for their survival.
You know what happened when the Roman
and immigration,
when the Roman Empire failed and all the slaves were basically when the Roman slave system ended, a bunch of those people went out to the farms and started working for the farmers and became their workers. It's more nuanced than that, and I would highly recommend looking into this, because if the economy fails and all these people come out of the cities, these liberal weirdos that don't have families or whatever, they're going to be looking for work, and they're going to be basically put down, but they're going to be put on the farm to get to work, and they're going to be overseen, and then they're going to be, you pay them whatever you want at that point.
Do you think they're useful enough to use on a farm?
Well, yeah, no. I gotta disagree, bro. Like, there's a lot of people in cities who could come and do basic farm work, but I tell this story all the time. Let me ask you, John. You remember Occupy Wall Street, I imagine?
Sure.
During Occupy Wall Street, a bunch of farmland was granted to Occupy Wall Street, and so a bunch of these young people were like, I want to get off the grid. I want to be responsible for myself, sustainable, and not be a part of the carbon dioxide corporate fossil fuel economy. So they went to this farm to be totally off the grid, sustainable. How long do you think my friend made it?
I would say halfway through his first callus, wherever that came from.
Halfway, like my fingers, sir.
Halfway through his first blister.
2 weeks.
That's your first good blister.
So I asked my friend 2 weeks later, "You're back?" And they said, "It sucked. I woke up at 6 a.m. and I worked until 11 p.m. Yeah. I never had time to do anything. It was just work, work, work. If you want to eat, you got to work, then you had breakfast, then you worked again, then you had lunch, then you worked again, you had dinner." And I was like, that's what survival sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these people.
Yeah, but when the owner of the house has rifles and you're in a fenced-in area and there's nowhere to get out, and you chose to be there because you need food, like I'm saying, we might be on track to see another serfdom rise in this country.
Look, you're not going to be able to take entitled, gaunt millennials.
I'm not saying everybody's going to make it either.
That's a good point then, because there's a lot of people in the cities. Of course, they're capable. I don't think they're as skilled or as learned as people in the countryside when it comes to basic country things, like the things I've learned just moving out of the cities over the past several years. It's like, oh wow, I didn't know that. We got chives growing in the backyard everywhere. You just walk up, you pick them, you rinse them off, you eat them. I'm like, I don't even know what you can or can't eat. But the people out here are like, oh, here's what you can't eat, here's what you can't eat. They can just tell me right away. So if one day the roads were gone, and it was like, you're only going to get food which you can find, they'd make it, I'd be in serious trouble. So people in cities, there's a lot of smart people in cities, but they're not going to know the first thing about how you grow crops. You know what we did last year? Remember, those tomatoes we planted?
Yeah.
We planted all the tomatoes at once. And then what
It
happened?
was sad.
You get a lot of tomatoes, and then you run out of tomatoes,
Yep.
We had like 80 tomatoes we
and
couldn't
they
eat.
go and they get rotten.
Exactly.
Do you know how to can?
No.
Oh, you got to learn how to can, man.
But we do preserve.
Can man.
We
No,
do
you got to learn how to can.
This is going to be our party while we're out here. You're just going to teach
Canning
us
party.
this stuff.
I'm going to
So
take
that
you
we're
guys out to
fun.
my
Canning party
spot
at
in the
John's
woods and
house.
teach you how to do some.
But we make preserves. That
That's
was
good.
fun. I got
Well,
mulberry
it's
tree.
similar. It's
Yeah.
very similar to that. You just put tomatoes in it next time.
There you go.
Or potatoes, whatever.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.